Let's turn our attention right now to what's been going on well, not just Britain's streets, but also, of course, what's going on at the BBC. Now, I'm sure, like you, like me, obviously, big fan of BBC Radio 1 Extra. No, it's probably not aimed at us. It's urban appeal, apparently. That's a code, by the way. You have to know the code. It's not really music for us. It's drill, it's rap, it's grime. It's a very niche market, but a very popular market, particularly among young gangsters. We saw only last week a 14-year-old lad murdered, stabbed to death on a bus in broad daylight on his first day back at school. 3 arrests have already been made in that case, but he was a drill rapper himself, and of course, you know, threats being made. We know that, you know, threats made by these various rappers often lead to stabbings and deaths on the street. Well, The Sun have got an extraordinary story today, an exclusive. Rapper on BBC is Jimmy's killer. Now, this refers to the schoolboy, the 16-year-old schoolboy, a gentle giant he was described by as his family, as Jimmy Mizen, and he was murdered, killed in cold blood back in 2008 by a man who then went on to get convicted and to serve 14 years behind bars. That man is now out of prison, and he is the man pictured on the front page of The Sun. He's also a man whose drill raps are now all over the BBC. He wears a balaclava. No one thought to ask, I wonder why he's wearing a balaclava when some of the lyrics that he's got in his raps are actually about glorifying the murder that he committed. We're joined right now by the crime editor at The Sun, Mike Sullivan. Mike, you covered this case at the time.
I did.
And the trial. This man went away for life term, minimum term, 14 years.
Yeah,
He's out on the streets.
It's quite sickening to know what he's doing now. He was very young at the time, so hence, arguably, it was a low tariff, but that would explain it. But I'm
surprised he got that long.
Well, he had a pretty appalling history of violence.
This wasn't a one-off.
It wasn't a one-off, and really, I mean, Jimmy's family described him as a time bomb, and they're quite correct. It was an inevitable conclusion, really, for the way he was living his life.
And there were witnesses to, as he tell us about the actual crime he committed.
Well, the story, I'd like to tell you something about Fahri himself, because
this is his name, Jake Fahri.
Jake Fahri,
known as 10, is a rapper.
He's now known as 10, this anonymous rapper who transpires to be a killer. Quite what questions were asked about who he actually was, as you've alluded to. Who knows? But that's obviously something the BBC have got to ask for themselves. Fahri, his first involvement with Jimmy's family was when he was only 11 years old, and he robbed Jimmy's brother of 20 pence, punched him in the stomach after school. Jimmy comes from a very upstanding family. His mother and his father were very upset about what happened to Jimmy's brother, Harry. Complained to the school, and Fahri obviously took umbrage about this, and a couple of years later he beat up Harry again in the street, and the family went to the police on that occasion, got involved. The police gave him a harassment warning, and this was one of the just a number of things which
and it wasn't the only family he was targeting.
I mean,
and then he kills
and targeting girls as well. It'd be a year before he murdered Jimmy, he'd been arrested for raping a 13-year-old girl and charged with it. That case was dropped. You see where we're going.
He's a wrong-un.
He's a
wrong-un. He was a danger. He's wrong. He commits this murder. By all accounts, according to witnesses, he is in a takeaway. He swaggers out of this takeaway with a smile on his face.
Well, yeah, in the first instance, he'd seen Harry, who he'd robbed previously, in the Bakers. Harry was with Jimmy. This is Harry Mizen, with his brother Jimmy, and started hassling them. I mean, now, Jake Fahri is 5'7", Jimmy's 6'4", but he was only 16, and this Fahri is aggressive, he's nasty. In a Bakers in Lee, south-east London, on a Saturday morning, sees them, starts hassling them, then started throwing plastic drinks bottles at them. The boys stood up to him. Fahri, when left the Bakers, grabbed an advertising board with this metal frame and started poking at Jimmy, who punches were exchanged. The boys fell into this cake display. At that point, Fahri's arrogance couldn't sort of let this go, so he grabbed a hot glass dish of sausages and hurled it at Jimmy, Tragically, it hit him in the neck and impacted, fragmented,
and
Jimmy, it severed his main arteries and he bled to death. And it was a senseless, pointless murder.
Yeah, but again, it could have happened at any time to anyone almost. He was a tinderbox. So this man, this boy as he was then, he serves his time. He serves 14 years. Parole board. Again, one would argue.
Can I just describe what he was like in court, which I saw?
Yeah, I should probably not, because we haven't got too much time. He comes out of jail. Now, part of the, his parole board has to rule, that he is he's safe on the streets. He serves his minimum term. He's now basically trying to become a drill rap star.
Which he wanted to be in the first place.
And he was, doing that behind the bars as well. The lyrics of his songs are, some of them are about this killing. They're about this death. Glorifying it, celebrating it. There's no sense of remorse. There's no sense of trying to turn things around. He's covered in tattoos. He wears a balaclava. He's been all over BBC One Extra. Now, BBC One Extra, interestingly, they clearly must have been aware that some of the lyrics were unacceptable, because they did actually censor and beep out some of the lyrics, but kept a lot of it in. Do you think they knew who he was?
I would very much doubt it. I mean, if they'd asked the questions and carried out the proper research on who he was.
Due diligence, but they wouldn't.
But why would they? And if they did that...
Is there an issue? Look, I mean, the Sun I'm saying that this is outrageous, this guy's been played in. The BBC, there's a lot of censoring, climate deniers, transphobic people who understand biological sex. But they don't seem to have a problem with a drill rapper celebrating and glorifying violence that he himself has committed. Do you think that they should not have played him at all?
No, I think playing him was okay, but violent lyrics are unacceptable.
The BBC Charter is very clear about this.
Yeah, we are paying for this as licence payers. If you want to listen to this stuff on pirate radio, okay, but not the BBC.
And even if the BBC censors, does a little beep, or blocks out some of those key words, basically you're bigging, the DJs are bigging up this drill rap star. People can then go and find him on YouTube or Spotify or whatever, and then they can go and listen to the actual words, which are all about glorifying violence. And this at the same time as the BBC will be doing news reports saying, isn't it awful that all these young lads are killing each other, and often spurred on by these sort of drill rap battles that they have.
I mean, it revs it up, there's no doubt about it. I mean, we've seen that in lots of different court cases. It's been behind a lot of murders. However, there are some drill rap songs which are good, that don't allude to glorify violence or rape or murder. And I think in that respect you've got to be careful. I don't see
I don't want to ban. I don't think we should ban a genre of music. I mean,
otherwise, what happened to punk rock? I mean,
exactly.
But in this instance, I mean, you've got him singing on the BBC about watching a man's soul leave after stabbing him and melting like Ben and Jerry's ice cream.
Yeah,
I mean,
and celebrating it. But the key thing also, I mean, you're not allowed to profit from your crimes once you leave jail, are you?
You're not allowed to profit, no, from selling media stories, so arguably that could potentially be
we understand prison authorities are looking into it.
Yeah,
the BBC are looking into it.
They'll be able to do it. I mean, whether he's actually committing a crime is another matter. So they might be able to impose some kind of restrictions where he doesn't glorify what he does.
Or he has to have his lyrics checked.
Yeah,
I mean, again, I'm a free speech advocate, but there's some big question marks about this. Mike Sullivan, thank you so much for coming in talking about this. Crime editor at The Sun.